Thank you. We're actually going to go to item 18 so that we can address the naming of the Metro Sports Facility, and that is because we have Lynn Te who's joined us here today to support the Matapopuri representation on the gifting of the name. So that's very much appreciated. So thank you, Lynn, for being here as well. So I'll hand over to you and
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko tākau ingoa, Craig Hutchings. I'm the Facility Establishment Manager at Council, and I'm joined by Lynn Te who's representing Matapopuri. The purpose of this report for Council is to consider a permanent name for Metro Sports Facility, which is currently the working title for the new recreation and sports facilities being constructed between Morehouse Road and Antigua Street. While the report contains all the background information regarding the name and the rationale for the recommendation, I would just like to take a moment to reinforce the link between the special name that local Runanga Tahiriri have gifted. As the largest recreation and sports facility in New Zealand, this facility will encourage and promote physical wellbeing for all Cantabrians, support pathways for high-performance athletes, and importantly, increase participation rates in sport and recreation. The story of Parakiori, the gifted name, which I will shortly pass over to Lynn to talk about, will provide a means of inspiration. The use of recreation and sport as descriptors are important as they communicate the purpose of the facility. Recreation being activities done for enjoyment and not outside of work. Sport being activities being involved in physical exertion and skill in which people usually compete against each other. These words together, Parakiori Recreation and Sports Centre, will provide meaning, build a sense of pride in cultural identity and inspire the millions of customers that will visit the facility when it opens. And I think an important part of that is the education of the name. So I'll pass over to Lynn and we'll actually start that process, and Lynn will take you through some of that story.
Tēnā koutou katoa, he mihi mata koe kia koutou, kua whakarau I ka mai. Kia ora everyone, I'm here as a face of Matapopuri, but also from Ngai Tuahuriri Runanga, and I'm a trustee of the marae. And thinking about our name, and I give apologies from our upoko Te Maire Tau, who's actually on the Mutton Bird Islands at the moment, seasonal food gathering, but he was the one who actually came up with the name, and I'll just walk you through the PowerPoint presentation. I understand you have a copy, but we'll go through it. So the Metro Sports Facility promotes sporting excellence and physical wellness. From a Māori perspective, it also links to physical strength and agility, and these are all part of the core narrative thread of wellbeing. Traditional Māori existence demanded high physical ability of men and women alike to survive the transient subsistence way of life within the southern landscape and to survive as warriors. Physical and mental excellence is celebrated through the many traditional narratives that tell of the relationship between Māori and the environment and interdependence of both for continued health and wellbeing. One such narrative from Ngai Tuahuriri tells the story of resilience, determination and agility. It is summarised in its simplest form in the following slides. Tūrako Tahi was the founding chief of Kaiapoi Pā for Ngai Tuahuriri and Ngai Tahu in the North Canterbury area in the 1700s. So he's our main ancestor from the time Ngai Tahu set foot in the South Island. One of his sons was named Parakiori, and he was known for his prowess, his agility and quick thinking. He was embroiled in a battle on the Moiraki beach. The invaders were close by. Parakiori and his wife were chased along the Moiraki beach where their pursuers caught up with them. They taunted him about his supposed fleetness of foot and how easy he had been to catch. Parakiori was not concerned and replied with a cryptic remark. Kia whati te tai, kia pao te tōrea, kia ina te harakeke a hine kakai. When the tide recedes, the tōrea, the oyster catcher, will strike. The flax of Hinekakai burns. The above pepihao whakatauki was recited by Parakiore. It was a boast that they were never going to catch him because he was too fast for him. The proverb from Parakiore tells us that his speed was the same as a spark igniting dried flax. Māori would use dried flax as a fire starter, and like the tōrea, the oyster catcher, if Parakiore had moved too soon, he would have been slowed down by the surf and the tide washing onto the sand. So you actually have to know the environment and the landscape to survive well in the landscape. He then promptly lifted his wife onto his back and piggybacked her down the beach so quickly that he still outran his pursuers. So this is a Ngai Tuahuriri Ngai Tahu story of endurance, agility and speed. Parakiore is a legend, a hero of the 18th century, and his proverb has been handed down from generation to generation. The story of Parakiore also tells the significance of understanding the environment we live in and our interdependence on the flora and fauna by becoming eco-literate about learning to read our environment visually and the physical landmarks and iconic features within our environment. Ngai Tuahuriri gifts this name for the Metro Sports Facility. Kia ora. Any questions?
Kia ora. Thank you very much for the presentation, because it really does provide a sort of a compelling story around the name and the understanding of that significance of knowing our environment. But my question is really for our staff member. Yes. Because councillors obviously had a bit of a background briefing on this, and there was a feeling that the word metro shouldn't disappear because it has become such a feature of the place itself. Mm-hmm. It isn't a local suburban community facility. It is the metropolitan centre. Mm-hmm. And there was a question as to whether Parakiore Metro Recreation and Sports Centre would be an acceptable name.
I just think that
Metro Sports
from a branding, in my view, the branding, and we did, as part of the document, we did consider that as an option, at looking at retaining that metropolitan, and understand that it is a regional based facility and all, as opposed to our local attractions. But from a branding perspective, it becomes quite difficult. From a signage perspective, it becomes quite difficult. And I think in the activities that are provided and the services that are provided, and an understanding that will attract regional and national events, the understanding what the facility is actually serving as a purpose will actually be achieved through the services and programs and activities and events that are provided, as opposed to it having to be part of the name.
Well, if that just makes it very long, then Metro Sports Centre.
Mm-hmm.
Because then, in Parakiore Metro Sports Centre, actually less letters.
Mm-hmm.
And from the incredible activities that it will attract, like national competitions and potentially international or trans-Tasman competitions, which will become a regular feature of this place. It's the sports activities that will be the standout of this facility as opposed to the recreation.
Respectfully, the facility, yes, a component of it will be about sport, but importantly for Cantabrians, and the key purpose, one of the key objectives, is to increase sport, people's participation, and actually people, the attraction in terms of recreation, as I explained before, in things that are not competitive and are not don't involve people competing against each other. the hydro slides, the leisure water, the aquatic sensory area spaces, the fitness spaces. There are so many spaces.
Look, it's unfair. It's unfair because I thought that we'd had a discussion about this the other day, and that this obviously wouldn't have been a surprise.
Yep.
So I'm just getting a sense from councillors if people are generally comfortable with what's up there, and the alternative is the Parakiori. I mean, I think there's the acceptance of the name, the gift, gratefully received. But the word metro is what people have understood about this place. It is our premier event centre, really, for both swimming and. But anyway, if there's a general feeling that that's not the case,
I'm happy to foreshadow then the Metro Sports Centre if that's.
sure.
Yeah, because
okay.
I think that'd be far more appropriate.
Metro.
I think that one of the things that, I think that people will probably still continue in some ways to call it Metro Sports, like they call Tūranga and the Central Library, those kind of things. I think that if we add Metro Sports as part of the official name, what we risk is people just dropping the Parakiori part of it when they are naming it, where that should be the formal name.
Sorry, look, we did have a discussion about this the other day, and yes, it was an informal discussion, and I may have misunderstood the extent of people's views. I thought I was representing the view of the collective, but not. Okay, Tim.
Ngāi is known by everybody as Ngāi, so I just think we kind of get overthinking and start with, especially the European things, a whole lot of names like the Recreation and Sports Centre. I mean, that is so boring, let's be honest. But everyone knows it's Metro Sports. But if we had a Parakiori Metro Sports, I mean, that's just, everyone knows it's the Metro. We've been talking about it for almost 10 years, and we gift the name as a real treasure. So I think to just keep it as simple as possible. Recreation and sport, everyone knows it's recreation and sport, so Metro Sports. So I think the gifted name with Metro Sports, simple.
Aaron?
Yeah, so, I just had a question, can I still do a question? Yep, was around the story that was just told in all the words that went with it. Will that be in the foyer, in that full form?
So we're working with Matapopri at the moment to look at all the ways, whether it be video or signage throughout the facility. So the answer is yes, and there'll be other ways to tell the story as well.
I can see a children's book, a digital story that's told.
I can hear your voice telling it.
Well, I'm writing the box, so I'll let you know.
And if it's approved, there's a video piece that will come out and explain the story as part of our communications plan.
Okay, I'm happy to move the recommendation as up there.
Okay, so it's been moved by Aaron, seconded by Sarah. So is there any debate? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. Abstain.